All right, everyone. Tonight we got the usual crew here. Well, I should say usual gang. And we got all the people behind Alo AI, and I'm super excited for this one. I really, really want to pick this guy's brain and see how they came up with this amazing product and what it's doing for dentistry, and just kind of pick each of their brain and figure out what Alo AI is all about. I'm gonna let every single one of them introduce themselves. I know you guys met them before on the podcast, but I'm gonna let them introduce themselves. I'm sure they're gonna do a better job than me. So there you go, guys.
Masood, you go first, buddy.
It's actually Mahmoud, but yeah, I like it. Hope Craig gets to see this, but yeah, I'm so happy to be here. This is how many episodes have we done so far, Milad? I think we've done over
We're done.
5 by now.
Oh yeah, we're at like episode 8. Yeah.
And how many views have we got?
On the YouTube channel, we got about 650 views and we got about 8 subscribers. Not too bad.
And we've had amazing guests: Edgar Jones, Sarah Ruber, Craig Iot, shout out to, and many other people. Shout out to all of them.
Yeah, please don't. We have a big guest, a big one.
Yeah, we also have a very big one. That's a surprise, I would say. So yeah.
So are you saying Obama's coming, or we're talking about Trump? That would be crazy.
I think it's bigger than Trump or Obama.
Yeah.
The Obama of dentistry. So yeah, I mean, about myself, so happy to be here. Masood, I'm a co-founder of Alo AI. I got introduced to the dental industry 2 years ago when a friend of mine got a toothache, and then I was trying to book an appointment for him, which turned out to be a very difficult job to do. And then with my tech background, I jumped onto the dental industry, and so far it's been amazing. I got to meet many different people with different backgrounds, and yeah, so happy with the progress that we're making, especially after Mila joined our project and everything else that we've been doing. I was saying we can go next.
All right. Nice and short and sweet. My name is Hussein. I'm also one of the co-founders of Alo AI, and the way Alo AI came into my world is I've got 10 years, not that many, but I've got a certain amount of time that I've worked in the managed service provider world, in the tech world. And about a year and a half, almost 2 years ago, I threw an event. And in the second iteration of that event, I met these two gentlemen, Sina and Masood, and they had this great idea. So we sat down in a coffee shop in downtown Vancouver, and they demoed the platform. It was running on a laptop, and on a laptop, it was phenomenal. And immediately I was like, yeah, let's see what we could do. And that was December of last year. So January is when we kicked off, and there was a lot of development that was already done by Masood and the team. At that point is when basically I joined, and the rest is history. Once Dr. Milad came into play, we kind of kicked things up, which is phenomenal. As a SME, or SME they call it, or subject matter expert, has been helping significantly. So super happy to be here. Sina, you go for it, buddy.
Alrighty. So yeah, I am Sina Musevi, also one of the co-founder of Alo AI, and I'm super happy to be here. And yes, and it's been a long journey so far. I mean, we've been through like many ups and downs, and yeah, there are also many things that are going to be happening for next year as well. We're all super excited about. And yeah, that's it. And then right now I'm just doing many things behind the scenes for Dance. And yeah, let's see how things goes.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. I can tell you that, the day that I'm super happy and I'm thankful that I met Masood, and we kind of talked about, what you guys are doing for our industry, which is dentistry. I'm a practicing dentist. I been in dentistry for the past 2 years, and I really, when I spoke to Masood and I saw what you guys are building and the product that you guys built, it's such a need for our industry, because it is truly a challenge for us, especially with the fact that we're having so much of staffing issues, especially from the front to the back and everything else. I mean, you guys are definitely making a change in the industry, the way that, it's amazing, and it's so fascinating, because when you think about it, every phone call that our office misses, that's a revenue out the door. So the fact that you guys are solving that, and your product, I mean, I test your product out, and I mean, it is amazing what it does, and we'll dive into it. But I am super proud to be part of you guys' team and what we're doing. I'm super happy. And the one thing is that we're all passionate for what we do, and I love it. So before we get going, I really want to ask, what made you guys want to get into the tech? Because a tech startup sounds so scary and risky. So, like, what made you guys really want to get into that?
So I have my own story, and the story is different for everyone, I guess. My story was that like I was a tech nerd ever since I was a kid, and those kind of kids that their parents put them behind a computer all the time. They're always doing something creepy, hacking something, hacking Wi-Fi passwords. I was that kind of kid, and I always had a passion to basically help out the tech world, and I've participated in a lot of open source projects. I used to be in the crypto world on the development side, and that one was also kind of fun because there weren't many people around and there were only, a handful of developers all around the world, and the need was great. And then the applications that I got to build was super useful. And I really developed a very deep passion for tech because you basically build applications and platforms from nothing. And the great benefit it has is its scalability, that you just build something and everyone gets to use it. Like the simplest device that everyone has these days is the phones and basically laptops and tablets. And with the things that you build on there, because everyone has access to that, you suddenly have a big audience of people. So that's what's been shaping my passion towards basically tech world, because with the change that you make, the impact is very big. So that's basically my kind of story about why I love the tech world and why I've been in it and why I still see myself within the tech world for the next 10, 20 years. But what about you, Jose? I mean, you've been in it for, as you mentioned, the last 10 years.
I got into tech as I was walking. So I went to Simon Fraser University for user experience and user UI UX. I actually got into tech, really into it, when I was walking down the street and it was a Starbucks, and there was a little tiny car. You know those little smart cars? It's like a two-person dinky little beep beep. On the side of it, it said "Go Go Geek." So I thought it was Geek Squad. And at the time, I'm like, this is interesting. So I just picked up the phone call, like called the 1-800 number. A CEO picks up and we have a conversation. And basically, I straight out tell the guy, look, I'm looking for a job and you are a company that's in computer stuff. Can can we have a conversation? He's like, yeah, come on to the office. I went in and it was, a guy that was running a rowing operation, and he hired me to pick up the phone and make reservations. That was it. Pick up the phone, make reservations. That was simple. Fast forward to working myself into higher position in that company, got into tech support over the years, the customer success. I started working in like 4 different tech startups. 2 of them that did really well, 2 of them that are, we'll talk about those, but a lot of lessons learned from there is basically my journey. That's basically been my journey. I think I'm very lucky to have had the privilege of being a part of some of those groups and teams. So yeah, that's basically my journey. Sina, how about you?
Yeah,
Go for it, buddy.
that's a really interesting, question, especially for me, because ever since I was a kid, I've always wanted to, become a medical doctor. I just wanted to pursue my dad's path. And I mean, I got really inspired by, his like practice and what he was actually doing. And so everyone at those days, like I would say like 6 years ago, 5 years ago, they had this, I mean, they just knew it that Sina is gonna be um a medical doctor one day. He just wanna pursue his dad's path, and that's it. Why I wanted to, become a medical doctor, because I love the way that my father, has impact on his patient. I saw that over his like years of experience. I mean, all of those years that he was practicing medicine, he was like treated like over 30,000, 40,000 people, cured their pain, which is really impressive and inspired me a lot to become a medical doctor. Fast forward at my 16, 17, I mean, I was kind of a, medical nerd. Um, I used to researching a lot about medical stuff, medical gadgets, and many treatments. Even my dad was like, it is actually kind of illegal, but he was like inviting me to the operational room at like the hospital for me to observe things and gain some experience in that regard, and also in his own clinic. I had this privilege and this opportunity to be there and meet a lot of great doctors in Iran. And so I was like inventing some medical gadgets when I was 14, 15 years old. It was my passion for sure. And then fast forward, I was 16, 17. I was like, Sina, is that the path that you want to pursue? Is that the your goal to become a medical doctor? Is that what you want from life? And I was like, I love the impact. I love to cure people's pain and treat them. But I was like, I want to have like more impact on this. So that's why I have chosen tech. Why? Because every single patient execution in this world is like I mean, basically you have like more impact. You have more effect on like more people, bigger demographic. And then I was like, okay, so maybe I can do something. Maybe I can be more useful and impact and then impact on more people's life. So, and that's how I got inspired and actually moved to this beautiful world, and I'm super passionate about it. And let's see what I can do next.
That's
So,
awesome. That's awesome. I love it, man. I mean, the fact that, you went from, being inspired by your father wanting to do medical, and then you're like, man, I want to have a bigger impact, and just wanting to do tech stuff and all of that. And just working with you in these past few weeks, working on some stuff that we were doing together. I mean, I can definitely see that you definitely have a passion for it, and you do it really, you put your mind and your heart into it. So I definitely give you a lot of props for that. But, going back to Alo AI and just really, the idea of it, wanted to know, how did you guys come up with that idea? Like, what was the inspiration behind the product, Alo AI? Like, what was that moment that you're like, man, I want to build this?
So the story is pretty much the same of how you came up with Dentment. If I want to turn the question back to you, how did you come up with Dentment?
Well, dentistry really, like in our industry, in dentistry in general, from the day I was graduating dental school, every single thing I was hearing was about mentorship, mentorship, mentorship. Like, and I was just got so, like, got fascinated by the idea of, like, how can we offer mentorship on a larger scale, just like Sina mentioned. So how can we offer that and give people accessibility on a larger scale, give them that knowledge that they need? Because, like, we had this discussion before, you graduate dental school, you don't know nothing about what that transition looks like from dental school into the real world. That's a challenge on its own. And you go months, even years, and you still don't know sometimes what's going on. So the idea of Dentiment is like, let's offer that mentorship on a larger scale. So that way, when you're about to graduate dental school, you have an area that you can go on and gain as much knowledge that you need. So when you're out on your first job, at least you have a basic understanding of what the terminologies are, what are the important things you need to focus on. And that's really what the idea was. And it truly is, even till now, and we're keep working at it.
Yeah, the one part that from the story that you mentioned, the one part that I probably want to focus on is the one that you faced the problem. Like, you were looking for mentors and then you didn't have anywhere to find them. And that's the prettiest way that I think a person can come up with an idea and basically build a business around it. Because some people, like, they have a passion for starting a business and then they don't know any problems or anything. They just come up with this fancy idea that they want to change the world. Best way, or not necessarily the best way, but I think, as I said, the prettiest and the most beautiful way that you can come up with an idea for a business is when you go through the problem yourself. You see that there's a problem and now you decide to solve it, and then solve that same problem that you had for many other people on scale. So that's kind of how we got into Alo AI, because I told this story many times. Like, I was Sina's brother that he got a toothache at night. It was a Friday night, and I was the one that was trying to book the appointment for him. And I had to call between 10 clinics until one of them picked up. So I saw the problem. I started doing research and understanding how big the problem is and how many other clinics have this problem. Like, is it only specific to Canada? Is it also in the US? What solutions are there? Asking basically those simple questions from the dentists and people at the industry to understand the level of severity of that problem. And what kind of trouble is it causing for the industry. And the deeper I got into it, I saw that it's a problem that many people in the industry, especially for a staffing issue and for many other reasons that you mentioned. So I was like, if with the background that I had, I knew that I can build a platform that I can solve this, at least for the dentists that I called, and they basically, out of the 10 dental clinics that I called, and the 10th one answered, the first 9 ones, they lost me as a patient. They lost me, it's not just about the revenue that they miss out, it's also the patient's experience. Because, next time if someone asks me, like, what dental clinic should I go to, none of those first 9 would be the ones that I would mention to them. Like, you know what I mean? So it affects many sides. The biggest one that people focus on is just the revenue, which is a great one. But I think from patient experience, especially for personal branding and for many other aspects of doing business, that's very important. What kind of experience you deliver to your customers or patients in this case. So that's kind of how we got into it. Like, we had the problem, we saw the problem, we started solving the problem for the clinics that basically we faced, and then we started selling that to other ones that have the same problem.
No, that's amazing, man. Like I said, and the one thing that I love about, you guys' product the most is the fact that you guys offer so many different languages, because you guys offer 20 plus languages, which is so important. I mean, because think about it, like, how are you going to hire that many people to have to speak all these different languages and be able to translate and book those appointments? I really want to know, like, how did you guys come up with that idea that you're like, man, you're just going to keep adding these languages? Like, what was the motivation behind that? Or what was the turning point that you're like, I'm just going to keep adding these languages to this?
Well, when you face a problem, Milad, and you start solving it through a solution and a platform, you don't have many ideas at first. You just have a very simple idea that this is the problem, simply put, and this is the kind of solution that you want to have for it. And then as you keep developing, more and more ideas come around it. But the only thing that matters is that, you niche it down at first. At first, you don't try to do everything at once. And, at first, all we just wanted to do was to replace the voicemail with a system that talks and answers. That's all. That's all we really wanted to. At first, we had some other ideas to replace the receptionist, but later on we realized, no, that's a little bit too much of a dream. But like later on, we just had a simple system. It was an AI that you talk to it, it talks back. It had no integrations with the PMS to be able to book appointments or do anything. But as we kept going and we understood more of the industry needs and we talked more to the customers, we saw the patient's behavior towards a platform, because it's a customer facing platform and it's those patients that have to tell you how you have to build your platform. It's all experience based. You have to make something that provides the best experience to them. So as we kept going on, we came up with more and more ideas, and we tried out many things that failed. Like at some point, we actually switched our models. Like we basically did a lot of trainings to make the models funny. Like it was joking on the phone. It was, I don't know, being kind of cool. But that didn't turn out well. We also tried out many other things. And the ones that we kept on to are basically, as you mentioned, like right now it's handling like 25 languages. It can take 1,000 calls at once, those kind of things, So we basically had a basic idea, and as we kept going, we just added more and more. Some of them failed, some of them we kept. That's kind of how every basically product story goes. Something simple, and as you keep growing, you add more and more to it.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. I mean, we like, as I got to know you guys, you always say, just start small and then just keep improving and improving and improving. The next thing, I mean, we already talked about that aspect, but like, as getting into a new industry, I mean, for you guys, it was definitely a new industry. I mean, you didn't know nothing about dentistry. You didn't know what that market was like. So as when you went from the starting point where you said, okay, we're gonna make this product, it had to be a challenge that you were faced with. And really, what is that challenge like along that journey, coming from a tech into dentistry, and now you're trying to maneuver around this big giant industry? Like, what were some of the challenges you guys were faced with?
So I think I'm going to ask Hossein to go on this, because he came from an industry that he was in for like 10 years or over 10 years. And for me, I was in the tech world. Like, when you're in the tech world, you get to build any kind of application. Like at some point I was in the crypto world. Before that, I was making, I don't know, some bots for Telegram and this and that. So for me, it was more of a challenge for Hossein than it was for me.
Yeah, I can. For me, it definitely is a is a challenge. It's a continuous learning process, right? I think Edgar said it actually once. It actually kind of doesn't almost matter how many years. And I really like that. That resonated with me when he said, he hates it when people say, I've been in this industry for 10 years, 20 years. And I was at an event a couple of days ago, and people were saying, yeah, I've been for 10, 15, 20 years. There is a thing that needs to be said about the value that you can provide. I believe, this is my own personal perspective, that you can leverage a lot of different tools to be able to accomplish something that is a problem for a group of people. In our particular case, in my case, I've got, a certain amount of time that I've spent understanding technology and how to shape it and use it and leverage it to make people's lives a lot easier, whatever it is they're trying to accomplish. For me, there was a huge knowledge gap, like industry knowledge gap. So I'm very limited in terms of my understanding of dental workflows, the terminology, the regulatory requirements. I'm still in the blind there. I'm trying to learn as much as I possibly can. There are a lot of specialized tech, adapting to dental specific software, equipment, processes. That stuff is something that I'm unfamiliar with. It's all, and it boils also down to client expectation. There are certain things that are slightly bit different than in the SaaS space, as a software as a service space. Again, I have to kind of understand and learn these. And besides that, there's obviously the compliance complexity, the fact that there is, you got to manage HIPAA. You got to talk about the specific data protections that you need to have. There are certain things about HIPAA that you talk in the SaaS world, but where I was at the managed service provider world, it wasn't us as a software company that had to deal with it as much. It was really our clients that had to deal with it, and only a subset of those clients. So it is a learning curve, but you got to learn, and you just get more exposure into it, and you do things like podcasts, and you talk to people like yourselves and Dr. Milad and the various hosts that we've had, and you get a lot of exposure, and you learn and you go forward.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. Like I said, the biggest thing is like, especially in our world of like as a dentist and like seeing what truly like, I don't know, like I said, I said this at the beginning. I think that in our industry, doesn't matter what, like you have one office, 5 office, 10 office, that's always, for me, it was a challenge when I walk into an office. And I think I said that before on the podcast. Like you walk in Monday morning, you have to assign somebody to answer those voicemails. And then you walk up to the front and you're relying on that person and you're trusting them to answer those voicemails. And then 5 days later, I get a Google review saying that I called this office 20 times and nobody returned my call. And now you're sitting there wondering what happened there, right? It's not only is affecting the way of you doing the business, but it's also like Masood mentioned, just that patient experience, because our industry is all about that patient experience. So the fact that, you guys are solving, it's not only, I think it's a big problem that you guys are solving, because now you're closing the gap and you're improving that patient experience, because anyone in the industry can tell you, from the marketing perspective, from everything else, that's all we want. We want patients to be happy. We want patients to leave us good reviews. We want patients to say, hey, man, I called this office and everything was smooth. So the fact that, you guys are, I think that's a huge problem that you guys are solving and you guys are improving upon it. And that's the part that is amazing. I mean, it can do so much as far as that goes. So I know, Master, you kind of started talking about Sina's brother and all of that. So how did you all kind of like come together under one umbrella and just said, oh man, we're gonna do this together? Like what was that a story like?
So it was all, I would say it's been a very fun journey so far. Like everything we've done, all the events we attended, all the people that we talked to, all the challenges that we faced along the way. Like we had our very first customer. I guess it's been a year that we had our first customer, and then he churned after 3 months. And then after he churned, do you know what churn means? Like he became a customer, but then after that he said, I don't want this anymore. It's not a good software.
I see what.
We had that experience, and then it was actually a day right before we went for our Toronto event, which was Collision. And, we had many ups and downs. It was amazing. And the one thing I was looking at when choosing team members was that people are there both for ups and downs. Like they're not just there for ups. So, and it comes from personality. Like personality is the number one trait that you have to go for when putting together a team. And You just go around and you meet a lot of different people. You have a filter. When you pass people through that filter, they either end up as a team member or they end up as someone you just know. So, I mean, for me, literally, it's been like that. And, for an early stage startup, it's not one person that's putting together the team. It's every team member that's choosing to work with the other team members. Like, you can't say that, like, this person, he was the leader and he put together the team. No, all the team members agreed to work under one ceiling for one purpose. So that was my story. That was the way that I chose to work with Hossein and with Sina and with Zarham, Puria, like everyone else on our team. And I'm sure everyone else like Hossein would have his own story because, as I said, like I'm not the one that chose the team. The team chose itself.
I see you forgot the main character. You forgot me.
Very main character, the very last team member, Dr. Milad OG. And thank you so much for choosing to work with us. Like, as I said, it's that personality thing. Like, even when we were talking, remember, like, we weren't discussing Alo AI that much. I just really liked your personality. And I just knew, like, that's what I told Sina and I told Hossein and everyone else. I said that Milad is the guy that's going to get the job done, no matter what the job is. So personality wise, I know that he's going to be a very successful person. So I would love to be alongside him.
I appreciate you, man. I was teasing you guys. Like even the like you were saying, just that connection that happens. Like the very first time that we got on the phone, I was like, man, like me and Masu, we just clicked right away. And I was like, I don't know what it was, but I told myself, I was like, something is gonna come out of this. And then literally like a week later, I was sitting in my car and I picked up the phone, I called you, and we started talking about like dentment and everything else. And all of a sudden, I'm like, wow. And then it just went from like nothing to something, and now it's like something bigger is happening, and it's just so amazing, man. It's just the small ideas, and you meet somebody, and just the characters just click, and it just happens. We were just having this discussion, you're talking about that. I was just having this discussion with my regional manager, and I was like, it's so important when you work with people under one roof that you all share a vision, you all have your character clicks, your vision kind of comes together, because you're able to build something so powerful that no force can stop it. And if you don't have that, it makes it so difficult, man. It makes it so hard. And I think that's why so far, like, I enjoyed being part of you guys' team, and being always available to talk to, and just discuss things. It's amazing, man. Truly enjoyed it so far. And I'm sure that we'll do amazing things together. And also the fact that Hossein looks like George Clooney of Alo AI, that's even better. Well, well, I really want to know, like, what is you guys' like long-term vision for Alo AI? What do you, let's say, I want to know, like, what's Alo AI is going to be 3 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. I just want to know what that vision is like. What is, when you close your eyes, Master, that night, you're like, this is what I want Alo AI to be. Like, what is that like?
Yeah, very simply, I'm trying to replace the whole industry and all the staff with AI. So that's like everyone gets fired. It's just AI there doing all the work. And yeah, patients are happy, people are happy. There are no more dentists. No, that's the thing. With this AI trend that's coming on, so many people are afraid that it's going to replace us. It's going to take our jobs, which is really not the way that it's going at. If it was going that way, then it was amazing. Instead, we had much better models, AI models, and, basically whatever we're seeing with ChatGPT right now and with every other AI thingy, it would have been 10 times better. But that's really not the path that it's going on. The path that it's going on is that it's just going to complement the work that other people do. And at first, when we started this project, I really had a passion for basically putting an end to the problem that I faced as a patient that I called many dental clinics. None of them answered until one of them did. I wanted to put an end to that. But then later on, I just fell in love with the industry itself. So with dentistry. At the same time, like, even though I have the passion for dentistry and all the amazing people that I've been seeing, like all the friends that I've made along the way, it hasn't been long that I'm in the industry. It's just been 2 years, maybe even less than 2 years, a year and a half. At the same time, I want to make sure that we stay niche, like with the company, with the visions that everyone has. With basically where we're going with Alo AI, I'm going to let Hossein go on this too. We want to stick to the communication part of dental clinics from all the different aspects. Actually, a model that we're working on right now, which is going to be, I think, a great value, is being able to handle the outbound calls for unscheduled treatments. So you very well know, Dr. Mila, that every clinic, like on average, has anywhere between $500,000 up to $1 million worth of basically unscheduled treatments sitting idle in patient charts that office staff have to call them back and bring them back for their treatments, but they usually get left behind because of two reasons. Basically, because that list is very big, and also the process is kind of complex, and they usually don't do it because they have no motivation. But this is something that you can easily, not I wouldn't say easily, but you can pretty much automate it with AI and have the whole list called in like 15 minutes. And, this is something that we're working on with one of our partners. So these are great values that we are working on. And so far, it's been great. People love the things we've made. It's been bringing them basically a lot of value in what they do. We have met our goals, which was increasing patient experience, making sure that the clinics don't miss out on revenue, and also at the same time making sure that there are no more missed calls. Like if dental clinics had the same service that we are offering, they had it back two years ago when I was making those calls, I wouldn't have had that same experience. So I want to make sure that there's not going to be another individual that is going to have the same experience. So that's kind of like my vision. But I'm going to let Hossein go about this.
I can piggyback on what you said. I love the fact that sticking to that core value of the core pain point that you had and you eliminate that problem. That is very much key. When you look at the US demographic, like about, what is it, they're like 19 or 18% of the American population are about 65 years or older in 2020, but then that's going to be around 22% by roughly 2050. There is a huge demand on healthcare. There is a very huge demand on healthcare. And then when I look back on my old industry of the managed service provider world, there were a few conferences that I attended, and the conversation in the last 10 years in the managed service provider world has been, hey, a law firm, a dental office, a small business, a lot of them are no longer just a dental office. They're now almost tech-driven companies. When you look at a dental firm from like 20 years ago, it wasn't necessary for them to have an accounting computer. You didn't have to have all this gear, all this tech in the office. You cannot run a dental office anymore without that. If your systems are down, your business is down. So this is a huge conversation that's been had in the IT world in general. A dental office is obviously it needs the tech. The next iteration of that, the natural progression of that, is because as you build tech, your workload goes up, and a lot of it is repetitive tasks. And if you can find new technology, if you can incorporate or integrate new technology that can remove a lot of those repetitive tasks, you as a business owner will be profitable and therefore competitive against the other guys who are not. So this is just a natural progression. We're not exactly like Masood said and joked, and a lot of people are like, are you going to be replacing dental office? We're not. We're just supplementing the current tools to be able to get rid of those repetitive tasks. My own vision for the next potential 2-3 years, obviously we'll have a much better model that will be absolutely spot on, not obviously 100% of the time, but 90, 95, 100% of the time. We'll expand our integration listing into more, PMSs and different platforms. We'll be obviously be able to expand our market from what we have to what will be in 2-3 years. Yeah, I think that kind of sums in terms of what my own potential vision is for.
Yeah, man, that's amazing. Not long ago, she showed me, it was just so mind blowing to me. I mean, it popped my brain out. That like I was like, oh man, this is like so crazy, because Masood had this table that you guys got from one of your clients. I just showed everything is such a detail that it was like, I was like, man, I need to just print this out, put it on a billboard in the middle of every town, and just let all the dentists see it. And I just asked Master kindly, I was like, just pull up that data table. Like, I just want people to be able to see like what it can do for your practice. Because like when you think about it, you're like, all dentists ever talk about, I'm a dentist. All we talk about is like, I'm going to put $1 in this marketing company. I'm going to put $1 in that accounting. I'm going to put what is going to be my return on that investment? That is the top of the thing on the industry. Is like, what is my ROI? What is my ROI? It's like, that's all they talk about, you know. And I was listening to a podcast, and the gentleman was talking about the marketing company, and he was saying that, yeah, we offer all these services, but the dentist doesn't give it enough time for the actual thing to kick in because they're so focused on that part of their business. And I found you guys' data. I'm like, it's so crazy. You guys have this data in such a detail that I just want Master to share it because I just think it's so important for other people or other dentists like myself to see how detailed this product is. So I have to please share that with us so we can kind of go through it.
Absolutely. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much, Milad. Yes. And one more thing about what you just discussed is that so many dentists, they simply don't know how much they're missing because they don't have the data. They think that they're doing okay, like everything is fine. And, because they see 2 to 3 patients per day, they think that their calendars are fully filled up and like they're doing their business in the best way that they can already. So they don't have any data on their inefficiencies of their business and what they can do to improve that. So the data that I'm going to share is basically the metrics that we collected for one of our clients. And by the way, we are developing dashboards for all these metrics to come in a fancy way. But so far, we just showed them how much they have spent, what has the application done so far, and how much they have made from this. So let me quickly go over it. So this client that we got, in the 4 months that they were with us, Alo AI basically managed 1,594 calls. This data is for last month, by the way. I just checked this data and it was 2,000, like yesterday. The new callers, basically people with different phone numbers that called, that was like around 600. There were 90 appointments that were made, 94 appointments that were rescheduled. There were 765 calls that were transferred. There were 55 patients that were added to the system. There were 11 appointments that were specifically booked in Spanish. And out of the 90 appointments that were made, 36 of them were canceled, and 16 of them were just test appointments that their office staff and basically our team did. And out of that, the attended appointments were like 38 so far. The whole call time was around 2,000 minutes in 4 months. And basically, out of those 38 appointments that were booked simply by saving their missed calls, there's this concept of lifetime value of a patient, or LTV of a patient. You should be familiar with this, Mila, which is around anywhere between $4,500 to $7,500. So on average, with 38 appointments and 55 new patients that basically our system added to their PMS, that's around $150,000 in lifetime value that they gain. And with the amounts that I charge them, I don't want to disclose the exact amount, but that's roughly 100x ROI. And one more thing to clear up here, like people might be like, what is this call transfer? Basically, the way that the system works is that it allows the office staff to answer the call for 2 to 3 rings. After that, if they do not answer it, instead of going to voicemail, it comes to Alo AI, which basically it has a humanly conversation with them, and it can book appointments or reschedule or cancel, basically all the operations that you see here right on the PMS. And basically the call transfers are for the ones that, because people call up for many different reasons, and some of them call up for their insurance, or they basically call because they want to talk to the doctor, the dentist, or they talked to the office manager yesterday. Like there are so many different reasons that they call for. And basically for whatever reason, if they want to specifically talk to a human, like it transfers the call. But this system makes sure that no appointments will be missed out of the missed calls. Basically, it's better patient experience, as I mentioned, which was our first core value. Secondly, making sure that clinics do not miss out on revenue. And thirdly, no more missed calls, because every time that someone calls, they have at least someone that they talk to, and then they completely convey the message that they wanted to say instead of a voicemail, rather than just leaving a voice there for office staff that never comes back to them. So that's basically the whole idea. And we are building more and more integrations to be able to cover insurance and, other types of basically patient communications, the other questions that people ask for. But our first priority was to start with appointments to make sure that the appointments, like the clinics, are not going to miss out on that revenue. Do you have any questions on this? I'll be happy to go over.
Yeah, I mean, it's so crazy. Yesterday, we were just talking about this at my office where, like, 100 calls are being made, and out of those 100 calls that is being made to a call center, only like 15 of those, out of those 100 calls, 15 of those appointments are being booked. So, I mean, there's like huge number, right, that is being missed out on or whatever the reason may be. I mean, it is amazing that you guys are booking that many appointments. I mean, I can tell you that's amazing. I mean, your numbers that you're booking is definitely high because they're not even doing that at a call center level. So that's pretty impressive. So the call transfers, the thing that I want to know, so when you make the call, is the call only for like can they make an appointment if they're a new patient, or do they have to be as an existing patient? Or if somebody calls in for a new patient, can they book the appointment through the Alo AI as well?
So that's a very good question. And the answer, the one word answer to that is actually both. So when somebody calls Alo AI, if they are an existing patient, the system would quickly know who they are within the system. And as soon as they call them, like they can even call them up by their name and be like, "Thank you for calling, Mila. How can I help you?" If they are a new patient, you can add them to the system. So it goes by the process that's, the basically office staff do. Are you a new or existing patient? What's your first name, last name, phone number, email, and then they add them to the system and then it books that appointment. So with that, you can see new patients added, like the number of patients that we added to their system that wasn't, within their existing patients was actually 55. So yeah, it can kind of handle both. And as I said, our priority for integrations was basically appointments at first, but we are building more.
That's amazing, man. That is awesome. I mean, I don't know, this data table, I found it so amazing. The fact that you guys have this thing in such a detail, that just says a lot about you guys' product and how efficient it is. Because at the end of the day, as a dentist, all we want is for things to be as efficient as possible. And like you mentioned, the technology is on forefront of everything right now with dentistry from any company. It doesn't matter. I mean, the fact that you guys are in forefront of this. And like you mentioned, the one thing I love about Alo AI is that you guys work on a lot on your product development that I think is so important, because sometimes people build something and they just like, oh, well, let's see what happens. But the fact that you guys are keep developing the product and making it better, that's also really, really amazing. I mean, the final question is, so we're talking about that product development. So what are some of the things that you think that is going to be great for the future of dentistry? What is some of that developmental thing that you're working on right now that you think it's going to be game changer?
To go into it, but Outbound, how many dental offices have we talked to? I mean, we have the tech right now, but how many dental offices have we, dental offices, DSOs, dentists, owners, they all want Outbound. They want to be able to take care of this mundane task that nobody wants to do flawlessly. Those bookings that are sitting there, those unscheduled treatments, those, missed callbacks, all of that needs to be taken care of. So Masood, you wanna talk more about that?
Also,
Yeah,
I
that's
gotta
a
tell you a funny story. Let me tell you one more. One day I walk into my office and then I said, we were just talking about the outbound and like outstanding treatment for the patient. And we were like, man, we have a slow month. Let's just look up, see how much like mistreatment is there. The patient like came in, either they never came back to get the treatment, or their existing patient and they had a crown that they had to do, but they never did it, or they had a filling that needs to be done. And then we asked the back office, we are like, hey, can you guys provide us with this data? And they're like, yeah, sure, we can give you that. And readily, like half an hour later, I get an email. It's readily 250 pages. It's like 250. So I'm like, all right. I went to one of the assistants. I'm like, hey, just do me a favor. Just solve 5 of them. And he wasn't even like, and I'm like, man, how much money is this? Like, just think about it. Like, how much money are you missing out? The fact that, and the thing is, who are you going to assign to to go through these numbers and just call each patient. How much time is that going to consume? I mean, the fact that my sister said within 15 minutes, I'm able to call this many patients. And even if out of those 250 people, you put 10 of them, how much money is going to come back to your practice? That is amazing, man. I just want to tell you as that story.
No, yeah, absolutely. If we look at it from a broader perspective, you know that a dental clinic is at the end of the day a business. And the business has two ways of marketing, bringing in customers, either from inbound marketing, which is when you basically put content up, you basically make social media presence, and then people come to you. Like they see something that they like on the post that you share, and then they call you up and be like, I want this service. Or outbound marketing, when you call up those people, when you go to your customers, you email them, you call them, you'd be like, we have this service. Do you want it or not? So far, dental clinics, the way they are getting their patients is mostly inbound marketing. Like 90 to 95% of patients, they come from inbound marketing. Even the marketing agencies that they work with dental clinics, they get the patients through inbound marketing. Like you rarely find a clinic that calls up a patient and be like, do you want to come in for this treatment? Because it's time, like you have to come for it. You barely find that. And that method is very time consuming, as you said. Like it's crazy. We have 202,000 dental offices in the US. And the average value of unscheduled treatments that the office staff have to call for those patients to come in is between 500,000 to $1 million. Like that's crazy that that is the average. Like that being the average just talks about how big of a problem that is and how much basically revenue dental offices are missing out on. So that's something that we are very excited about. And we're actually working on it right now with our team, with another partner. And we are hoping to roll it out within the next 4 to 5 months. And once we do, I'm very excited because I don't think there's a dental clinic that's not gonna need this. Every dental clinic would be like, let us try it out at least. So that's basically, I mean, I try to look at it from a broader view because this is, at the end of the day, as I said, a dental office is just like any kind of business. And all majority of businesses, they have both types of marketing, both inbound and outbound. So with this technology, we are basically allowing the other type of marketing. We are bringing that technology for dental business to have access to, if that makes sense.
No, that absolutely makes sense, Master. I mean, as far as just being able to, because essentially, like, there's so many hours in a day, right, that the staff can do stuff. And when you get into the dental practice, from some people may not know, but the staff in the front, they have to verify the insurance, answer phone, do all that. So it makes it very difficult when you're trying to assign them more tasks. So essentially, with the technology, if you can kind of cut those in half, like Edgar Jones mentioned, get on the left lane and cut that time in half. Let's do it because you essentially have to cut that time in half to make the business efficient. Dentistry, yes, you're serving patient, but at the end of the day, it's a business. If you're not your cash flow is not positive and all that, your business is going to struggle no matter what you're doing. I mean, the fact that, yeah, that's a huge, huge problem within our industry. And I can, vouch for that because we dealt with that in the practice I was in. And just saying that, we have to call this many patients. I'm like, a lot of time, the other issue is a lot of time patient leave and they don't, sometimes the staff forgets to make their next appointment, so how do you get that patient back, right? So going back to, if, it's a human error, patient gets up, gets their cleaning done, and then you forget to put their next appointment into the system. And now they have their outstanding treatment. So the fact that you're able to go in and do that outbound call, I think is definitely going to be a game. It's huge for our industry. It is huge. Well, gentlemen, I really, really enjoy this conversation. The future is bright, like my light that is bright here. The future is bright. I thank you guys for taking me on this journey because I'm super excited for it. I think that we'll do amazing things together, and I think it will be good. Well, Master, before I do let you go, I'm gonna ask you for one more thing. Can you pull up Alo AI website?
Absolutely.
Demo it for us.
Aloe AI. So, I mean, all the content is up here that people can go to. But as a quick demo that I can say,
Yep, just share your screen so we can see it.
well, I'm not sharing my screen.
No, you're not.
So
Beautiful.
these are some numbers that's probably self-explanatory.
Mhm.
The number of call minutes we've handled so far, number of new callers that we've had, the appointments booked. That's actually, I think, it's it would probably be around the 4,800. That's probably a bot. But
Mhm.
yeah, the money we've saved, minutes time saved, and basically the satisfaction rates that we've had. And just so everyone knows, whoever is watching this video and they happen to have a dental office and they want to try it out, like it's super simple. You just click on this button and then you fill this out and the whole onboarding takes 2 hours. And, with every clinic that we go to, we don't charge them right away. Like we just let them try it out, see if it works for them. Because at the end of the day, as I said, I came from the problem and then I had the passion to create this kind of value that can solve that problem for other people. So we want to make sure whatever clients we get, we are providing that value before, they pay us anything or there's any kind of business in that. So yeah, all I want from anyone that's watching this is to try it out to see if it's a value for everyone we're working with so far. It's a great value. They found it to be amazing. So yeah, basically try it out. Let us know how it is.
That's awesome, man. Thank you so much. Thank you, gentlemen. I really appreciate your guys' time. I really
Absolutely.
enjoyed this conversation. As always, this is my usual crew, but and I always enjoy hanging out with you guys. And we're gonna do more of this, and I'm sure together we'll make change, one step at a time. And with that, I'll see you guys next time.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks for your time,
All
buddy.
right.
Thank
Hey,
you.
Pleasure. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you.